I was gonna say. Filling up. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm. Get that situated before we start.
Dang, I thought it was going to be a short meeting today. Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll be that bad meeting. Yeah, I'm gonna wait till they get situated there.
Jed and Steve are opening it up.
Okay.
Sheriff was getting concerned about fire capacity.
Right. Okay, so we could get started. I can wait a second. If people get situated. Right, I have no idea. Probably more than I think it is. Yeah. Might get started. It's kind of calming down a little bit, but it sounds good. I'd like to call the work session of the Isabella County Board of Commissioners to order. Stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner
Here.
Embry, Commissioner Jazinski, Commissioner Engler, Commissioner Marino, Commissioner Swaney, Commissioner Hope. All present, Mr. Chairman.
Up next will be approval of the agenda. We'll start with general public comment. And then we'll have a presentation from the Administrator Controller on the 2024 annual disclosure. We have a couple appointments to boards and commissions, and then committee reports, Finance and Administration Committee.
Finance Administration Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business. Under new business, we're going to consider accepting and placing on file a 2023 annual drug report from the medical examiner. And then we will have another opportunity for general public comment, announcements, and adjournment. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to amend the agenda by removing item number 3 under Finance and Administration. Support.
Supported. All those in favor of removing item number 3? Yes.
I was just going to say, in terms of discussion, item number 3 deals with looking at the PTO manual, the policy manual for personal time off. We need to do a little bit more in-depth review of that. And to be fair and transparent to our employees and to see what the benefits might be for it. There you go.
Very good. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So move, Marino.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have an agenda. And brings us to general public comment. Anyone for general public comment, step up to the front. Tell us your first and last name. Hello. Need to sign in as well. Generally, we give people 3 minutes.
My name is Stephanie Steiner, and I may not be an Isabella County citizen, but I speak before you today as I have shared my husband, Deputy Steiner, with this county for almost 15 years. Many times working well over his 12-hour shifts to care for your citizens in this county. I have no other words other than anger and disappointment with what this county has done and what they think is okay to do. My husband and his fellow deputies were considered essential during the pandemic and showed up for work for this county every single day, while many other county workers were able to stay home safe and sound with pay. Now you have the audacity to say, Mr. Hope, that simply their services aren't mandated, like it's no big deal. I believe you and everyone in this room would agree if you were in need of their services that you'd be wishing it was mandated while you waited for no one to show up for you in your time of need. It has been said that this county responds to roughly 17,000 calls in 1 year. Apparently, you feel your citizens are okay with those calls going unanswered. Because even though there's misconception that that can be absorbed by other agencies, that's simply not true. You said in your last meeting that you did your very best on educating the citizens regarding the millage that failed. However, I didn't speak to one person that realized the outcome would be eliminating the road patrol if it didn't pass. I went on your website and I read the little blip about the millage and calculating what the increase would look like. It didn't describe what services would be lost. As many posts as I see on the Isabella County Sheriff's Department Facebook page, I only saw one lengthy post with links stating there was videos and Q&A, et cetera, about important items on the ballot, which wasn't very user-friendly. Why wasn't it just explained in the post about what the public should know? Why it's important to vote yes and what the money was needed for? Just point blank, just no links, just speaking to the people. You all did not do your very best. What I heard people was their perception of wasteful spending on a brand new correctional facility when they don't understand what's wrong with the jail we have. When due to inflation, people are opting out of certain spending themselves, like buying houses due to high interest rates and barely being able to afford their groceries. But then see their local government go full steam ahead and spend way more than what was necessary currently for the cost of a new jail. A lot of good this will do if you have no road patrol to arrest the criminals and bring them into this fancy new building. I'm sure the citizens will be very excited, though, that instead of a road patrol, that Parks and Rec is still in the budget. It will give the bad guys many places to commit crimes that will go unnoticed and unpunished. Next on wasteful spending, the county building. You're going to spend money on asbestos removal for what was deemed a potential risk. Okay. But then you also hire a firm and spend more for a remodel. You speak of a leaner government, Miss Frost, but you need the building remodeled. That seems like a good idea when you're heading into a financial crisis. Are you starting to see why the citizens didn't vote for a blank check to you? I guess it's easier to waste money when it's not yours. In closing, you really need to think about what you are about to do. You should never put the public safety at risk or hold them hostage for their own safety. You need to put a specific public safety millage on the August ballot and let them tell you how important it is for them to have a road patrol. You will not be able to undo the damage you are about to cause the deputies, their families, as well as the citizens of this county.
Thank you.
Evening Board, Scott Clark, Lincoln Township President, Detective Sergeant for the Sheriff's Office. 26+ years service Isabella County, the Command Officers Association President. I want you to take a second with me. Imagine yourself being a 9-year-old child down in the village of Blanchard. You saw dad hit mom screaming for help. You run in the bedroom, you call 911. The dispatcher says, it's going to be okay. I'm gonna have an officer there. In reality, the dispatcher knows the one trooper that's available for the county is tied up out on M20 way over here in Chippewa Township. No idea when he's gonna be available to go down and help this 9-year-old. Next thing you know, you hear the dad scream, "Who are you talking to?" Bang on the door, the child screams help, the phone goes dead. That's what we're looking at if we lose the road patrol. That 9-year-old boy, girl, has no idea when they're going to get help. Obviously, this means to me a lot. As a citizen, as an employee, I believe it's your obligation to figure out how to save the road patrol. That means finding the money some way or another, or if that means putting a public safety millage on this coming August ballot. I believe it needs to be done. I believe that we need to educate the public. We need to educate ourselves. The idea of a county of this size handling this many calls without a road patrol is insane. I ask you, I request of you, find a way to save our road patrol.
Hello, my name is CJ Steiner. I'm a deputy with the Isabella County Sheriff's Office, and I have been serving the citizens of Isabella County for almost 15 years now. I want to start by simply saying that Isabella County needs a public safety millage on the ballot in August 2024 for the safety of its citizens. Where Isabella County is at with the mention of budget cuts is sad and very troubling, not only for me and my family, but to the citizens of this county. The citizens of this county should be concerned and scared. If the road patrol is cut, their safety as a citizen here is in jeopardy. From the long waits on non-emergency calls to the extended waits on domestic assaults, criminal sexual conduct assaults, and homicides. Can you imagine if your spouse gets into an injury accident on the way home from work? Let's say M20 and Wind Road and needs immediate help. There will be no one coming. And if someone can come, it will take a lot longer to get there to render aid. A fast response can mean the difference between life and death in those cases. Minutes do count, and I have seen it. Isabella County is fortunate in having as many veteran deputies as it does. The top 8 Isabella County Sheriff Office deputies combined have over 200 years of experience in law enforcement. If we lose our jobs, that priceless experience will be gone and will nearly be impossible to replace. There's been talk that Mount Pleasant City residents will still have the same coverage, even if there is no county road patrol. What about when that city resident goes to shop at Walmart or goes to eat at Applebee's or takes a drive out into the county on M20 near Wind Road? When something happens at those places outside the city limits of Mount Pleasant, there'll be no one coming. Or if they do finally respond, it could potentially be hours, if not days before they respond. I hope the wait won't be too long in those cases of serious injuries and incidents. There are 200 to 300 calls per week that the Isabella County Sheriff's Office currently responds to. What will happen to all those calls for service if there's no road patrol to respond? I feel that it is also important to point out that not that long ago, during the COVID pandemic, the road patrol of Isabella County Sheriff's Office was considered essential and worked through it in the entire time. Many deputies caught COVID and took it home and affected their families. This while majority of the county employees stayed home and continued to get paid. In closing, I simply say again that Isabella County needs a public safety millage on the ballot in August for the safety of all of its citizens.
Hi, my name is Claire Bunker and I'm a citizen in Isabella County. I know you have a tough job and I understand that balancing a budget is a no-win situation. I've lived in rural Isabella County for 41 years, 10 years in Deerfield Township and 31 years in Vernon Township. I realize there are other law enforcement options for people living in the city of Mount Pleasant, but in rural areas, we depend on the Sheriff's Department for law enforcement needs. In the last 41 years, my family and I have had to call law enforcement for a variety of reasons. Vehicle accidents, car deer accidents, because we live in rural areas. We had to call them for medical emergencies, theft, and a few years ago, even the death of my mother-in-law in a Rosebush home. Each and every time, it has been a sheriff deputy that has responded to these calls. There is no way state police or other law enforcement are going to be able to fill those shoes. There's no doubt that if the road patrol is cut, it will jeopardize the lives and the safety of the citizens, especially in rural Isabella County. The Sheriff's Department also serves the rural schools in Isabella County, including Beale City, Maury Flex Tech, Wynn Elementary, and Wademan Elementary, as well as Odyssey. They also assist on Shepherd's main campus when needed. And although I've been out of education for a few years, I'm assuming that school safety is a top priority. And that's probably wrong. It is the #1 priority in schools. Ask anyone, school safety is the #1. Deputy Clark spoke. He was one of my liaison officers when I was middle school principal. Without the help of law enforcement, we are endangering our kids and the safety in our schools and everyone that works there. First-hand law enforcement officers are proactive and as important as counselors and any other school employee. They are invaluable to our schools and our students and our families in Isabella County. If the road patrol is cut and later reinstated, we will lose years and years of experience. And when our current deputies have found jobs elsewhere, and we try to rehire deputies, it will take years to rebuild and frankly will probably be impossible. In our area, many people from around the state, law enforcement officers have come because we are so well trained in Isabella County on school safety and proactive. And we do training for a variety of people across the state. And I'm assuming deputies in other states or law enforcement. You cannot find that kind of expertise. We are very lucky to have it in Isabella County. Again, I know it's a tough situation that you're in. We can debate how the county got in this situation, but that's not going to change it. But I beg you to put a public safety millage on the August ballot. And I also implore you to find a consulting firm or someone to help you run a successful millage. That is not something that can be able to be done fly by night. Like someone else messaged, it can't be, or mentioned, it can't be a Facebook post or something like that. You really need a professional to help you run a successful millage. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tim Lewis. I served on the school board in Rockford for 12 years, so I know what an elected official is and the hard decision budget issues that come up. I also work for the Police Officers Association of Michigan. I represent some of your employees. I also represent hundreds, if not thousands of employees on the whole west side of the state from Benton Harbor up to Ludington. The millage in August that everybody's asking you for is only step one. If you get that approved and you get rid of your road patrol now,
you're gonna have a hard time getting them to come back. If you look at Montcalm County, who is not far from here, they laid all their road patrol off. They got a millage for up to 12 or 13 road patrol officers. That was 10 years ago. They still haven't hired those officers. When I started in law enforcement 34 years ago, there were 400 people applying for one job. Now there's one person applying for 300 to 400 jobs. There's jobs all over the country, all over the state of Michigan. People are begging for people to come to work and come to work for them. You have a good sheriff's department here. You have good employees. You have a lot of experience. They're going to go somewhere else and it's going to be hard to get them back. So not only do you need that millage, you need to find a way to save your employees and keep them here in Isabella County. If you let them go, you may have a hard time getting them back. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Lee Clark. I've been a resident of Isabella County for the past 20 years. And I'm married to Detective Sergeant Scott Clark from the Sheriff's Office, who has dedicated nearly the past 27 years of his career to serving the residents of Isabella County. I moved here from the city of Grand Rapids, the quiet rural area of Shepherd in Lincoln Township. I've always felt safe there. I've known that if someone tried breaking in our house in the middle of the night while my husband was working night shift, a deputy would respond. I've known that if my purse was stolen at Walmart, a deputy would respond. I know that when I hit a deer, a deputy would respond. And they always did in a timely fashion. Knowing that all law enforcement agencies are already stretched so thin with staffing, losing the sheriff's road patrol concerns me greatly. Losing 19 sets of hands that respond to the citizens in need jeopardizes the safety and stability of this county. The sheer number of calls that they respond to cannot be absorbed by any other law enforcement agency. It is for these reasons that I ask you to please put a public safety millage on the August 2024 ballot. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dave Barbary, prosecuting attorney. I just want to say a couple. I think it's really hard to imagine how we got to this point as citizens and how we got to a position where we're considering cutting road patrol. But I think that it's important that we talk a little bit about that. And, having been involved with the millage discussions and talking about the needs of the county, I understand the reason why the commissioners did decide to go with the general operating budget. And I think that at one time that was seen as a necessity by the board. So I know that was a tough decision, and that was the decision by the board and what they thought was best for the county at that time. And fairly or unfairly, I think that the voters have determined that they weren't comfortable giving the board the $6.3 million in unrestricted funds. And I think that the comments that we've heard tonight, comments that we've heard since the vote, and in many ways, the vote in and of itself says that. But I think that what we've heard since then is support for a public safety millage. We've heard people indicate that they would consider voting in favor of that if the funds were restricted to public safety. And looking behind me in a room full of hardworking members of the Isabella County Sheriff's Department, past, present law enforcement agencies, everyone is here in support of this cause. And I think that as commissioners, we owe it to the community to let them decide if we want to pay for public safety. And frankly, we owe it to the members of the Isabella County Sheriff's Department to decide if we want to pay for public safety. So I would agree with all of the public comment thus far. I think that it's a necessity to take this to the voters. And as a board, I trust that you will decide to do that in favor of the comments that have been made tonight, and in favor of the citizens of our county. And we would ask that you allow the citizens to go to the ballot and make the determination as to whether they're willing to pay for public safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make this short and sweet because I'm sure enough folks have enough things to say today. Zach Ferrier, Chippewa Township resident, the vice president of the Isabella County Deputies Association. So just here to speak on behalf of them. So there's a lot of folks I see behind me, a lot of folks that I know from my past, from Shepherd, from how I grew up, where I grew up, bosses. So thank you all for being here tonight. It shows great community support, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So with that being said, there was a lot of organization on behalf of a lot of us to get these folks here today to show support. And I think you could probably see that folks will support a law enforcement millage in August on the August ballot. I will be also forwarding you a job form I did just to poll the general public within the last 4.5 days. And there's just close to 100 signatures on there. So that will be coming from my personal email address to your county email addresses. So please look for that as well. So I know you guys have a tough job to do. There's a lot of folks that want to say a lot of things. So thank you for letting me speak. And once again, everybody, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to make this short. My name is Rebecca Sides. I'm here with my husband, Kevin. He's in back. We own our home. We own a rental property and we own our business all in Ottawa Township. My in-laws are Thane and Phyllis Sides. Because of their age, they couldn't be here tonight. However, they have given me permission to speak on their behalf. They own their home in Sherman Township, and they also own a very large parcel of property in Sherman Township as well. My youngest son is Cal. He had worked tonight and could not be here, but he has given me permission to speak on his behalf. He also owns his home in Ottawa Township. I have another son, Joseph. He and his entire family are all home tonight with the flu. He has given permission to me to speak on his behalf. He owns his home in Lincoln Township. My sister Maggie, in back, is here tonight. She has given me permission to speak on her behalf. She owns her home in Deerfield Township. Each and every one of these people I have mentioned are voters here in Isabella County. And we respectfully request that a public safety millage be put on the agenda at the next Board of Commission work session. And if approved, to be placed on that agenda, that it then be placed on the agenda at the first available Isabella County Board of Commissioners meeting for their consideration and approval for a public safety millage to be placed on the soonest available ballot, which I believe at this point is August 2024. I will reiterate, we are all voters here in Isabella County. We deserve to feel safe in our communities, and as my understanding, without a public safety millage, we could likely be left without any dedicated law enforcement outside the Mount Pleasant city limits. Please put this issue on the agenda for discussion and let the people and the taxpayers of this county consider the public safety millage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Edward Bayless, and I am just a citizen in Lake Isabella. I am not reading from a prepared statement. I'm speaking from my heart, with my head. I have sat where you are sitting. I know how hard the job is, how it can be. Villages, you know that no is never no. No means rewrite it, come back to us. To put the public's safety in jeopardy is unthinkable. How would you, we've had people read you examples of scenarios that could happen, and they do happen. Domestic abuse. They call 911. Yeah, we'll get somebody out there. We don't have the county sheriff. State police. It's not going to be minutes. It's going to be hours. If the tragedy occurs, you have that on your hands. So please reconsider putting our safety as a separate line item, a millage, not out of the general fund. Do not hold our safety and well-being over our heads when you come to ask for money. That's morally incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Leo Medashevsky. I live at Lake Isabella, Sherman Township. And I know we have economic issues going on in the county, just like many other counties. The decision you're going to have to make regarding public safety is probably going to be the most important decision you may make as a commissioner. I was in law enforcement for 37 years. I know when you can't respond to serious crimes, things don't go very well. Any community, when somebody is looking to come into a community or a county, they're looking at the school system and public safety. My fear is if we don't put that millage on the August ballot, things are going to go very, very wrong for Isabella County, and I hate to see that. We have good people here. The sheriff's office, like many people have said, great experience, great officers. We need to be able to keep them on the road and answer those important calls. Can you imagine if somebody that you knew was sexually assaulted or was a victim of child abuse, and there's nobody there they may get somebody there in an hour or two to take the call. We have no detectives that are going to follow up on those serious felonies. We need to have law enforcement presence in Isabella County. And I ask you please to make sure that you put that on the millage. I don't want to live in a county that has basically very little law enforcement, and the state police aren't going to be able to pick things up. They're stretched quite thin as it is. So those calls that the sheriff's office handles right now are probably going to go either unanswered or take a long time to even get an officer out there. So please put it on the August millage. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Tom Siddick. I'm a Chippewa Township resident, and I've lived in this community for 9 years, and I've also worked in this community for 9 years. I have a simple message. Last week, 7 days ago, there was a meeting in this room a commissioner had said, we need public support, and if there's people willing to do something, now is the time. Sitting behind me is a room full of people willing to do something. Ask and you shall receive. I think this is a good starting point. There's a lot of work left to do, as you know. I hope the people sitting behind me know as well. But we have people willing to work and willing to get this done. Please put a public safety millage on the August ballot. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? General public comments?
Good evening. My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a resident of Isabella County. I'm a firefighter, a medical first responder, an EMT, and a medical examiner investigator, all in Isabella County. A point that hasn't been made yet in public comment is how it affects the other agencies' abilities to do their job. When I'm dispatched to an accidental shooting, domestic violence, injury, drug overdose, calls like this, we're required to stage, meaning be in the area of the call but not proceed into the scene. We have to wait until PD has cleared the scene, meaning deemed it safe for us to enter. As Scott Clark pointed out, there will be a delay in response time for PD, which also means a delay in medical care. Minutes count when it comes to medicine. As a medical examiner investigator, we are in situations where we have to investigate homicides, drug overdoses, and other potentially dangerous death scenes. Many of these calls are handled by the sheriff's office. They are there to keep us safe and the scene secured, while there is family and others who sometimes tend to be violent in these situations. For these reasons, as well as the others stated, I ask you to add a public safety millage to the August ballot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brad Hope. I'm an Isabel County resident. I have been my entire life. I'm a business owner. I own businesses in the city and out in the county, and I know what it's like to balance budgets, and I know you have a hard job ahead of you, but one thing that cannot be eliminated is the deputy mill or the road for the millage for the sheriff's department. We got to get it on the August ballot. We got to get it pushed through. I just retired as a police officer after 20 years, and the last 15 of that was with the city of Saginaw. And I tell you this because when I hired in, we had 115 officers. When I retired, we had 54. Crime rates went through the roof just by cutting it in half. I mean, I would respond to burglaries that were 2 and 3 days old. Can you imagine buying Christmas presents for all your children, having your teenage children home, having burglars break in, tie them up? When you get home, call the police and the police not respond for 2 or 3 days? That's with half the police force. You eliminate this entire sheriff's office, it could be more than 2 days before a state trooper responds. And this idea of the state police are going to pick up the extra calls for service is not going to happen. In the city of Saginaw, they only came in for homicides, shootings, stabbings like that. They're not going to respond to the domestic violence, the burglaries in progress. So we need our sheriff's deputies. And I urge you to put it on the ballot in August. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taylor Hookwater. I'm a resident of Isabella County. I'm also a medical legal death investigator. So I'm going to piggyback off one of my colleagues said that I think one aspect of the sheriff's department that people may not even know exists is how they work in concert with us during some of the most difficult and tragic times of people's lives. The sheriff's deputies, they help maintain scene safety. They help comfort families. They hold flashlights. They are invaluable on scenes. They help maintain scene safety. They help maintain the integrity of a scene, and we could not do our jobs without them. I have been on scenes that have turned quickly, and Deputy Chaprinka, Deputy Graham have been there in an instant to help me when I needed it, and there's just no telling when that's going to occur. I simply could not do my job without them, and I support putting the millage on the August ballot.
Okay. Anyone else for general public comment? Okay. Anyone on the phone? Yep. Anyone on the phone, press *9 if you want to speak. Sorry, Sheriff, go ahead.
Anybody that you want to put them on first?
So I don't
know if Okay.
they pressed the wrong
All right.
button, so.
I'm not gonna take long, so maybe they'll come back on. So a couple things, thank you very much. Appreciate it. This morning I met with the District 3 Sheriff's Association group, and we had our quarterly meeting. Spoke to the sheriffs of Mecosta, Osceola, and Clare. Those are the 3 counties that the Michigan State Police, along with ours, pick up. They're frustrated as well, because they know the state police are going to have to pull out of their counties to help supply our county. So this is a regional impact. Our partners are doing everything they can to pick up that slack, and we'll pick up that slack as much as they can. But really, I'm not here to get into a lot of that tonight. I just want to mention one thing or say one thing, and I know I've worked with all of you for a long time. There's nobody on this board that doesn't want public safety. I understand that 100%. It may be cloudy to some, but I get that. What I want the people behind me to know is your concern, right? Your concern in August is a 6.61 operating renewal. That runs the county. If we don't have the support that's behind me right now, all the way through to know that that renewal, not an increase, just a renewal, is safe, along with a public safety initiative, this county is going to be in a lot more trouble than just losing some deputies. So I think wholeheartedly that this group behind me is ready to get that message out. They are ready to shout to the top of their lungs that we have to renew a 6.61 renewal that comes up often, right? It's a regular thing that comes up. It's been there since 1978. In addition, they're here to support us for the rest of it. I hope the commissioners are feeling that and begin to see that. We have a short timeline to get that on a ballot, to get that through. Lots of deadlines to meet. So again, for the folks behind me, that's the biggest concern, right? We can't implode. We can't run out of money completely without that renewal of the millage or the operating 6.61. And we need to put the public safety one on and get it done. So I'm hoping that this helps tonight. I think this is a momentum that we're going to see move forward over the next several days, weeks, and months to make this successful. So thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? General public comment? Anyone else for general public comment? Okay, I'm gonna close general public comment. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Do appreciate everyone coming. Yes, sir.
I know it's not our policy to respond to public comment, but to take the input and consider it down the road. But I just want to say, I know the reference was made to a commissioner saying we needed to know that there's support out there. And there's now, the sheriff is correct. There's 7 of us here. None of us want to see road patrol. We know it's going to be devastating to public safety in this county, but we have to pay the bills. And right now, we don't have the money for it. And if this enthusiasm that we're seeing tonight can build on it, it gives us confidence perhaps to consider it. But if you're coming up and think you can just come and make a comment, public comment, and then go home, and that's been the end of it, I can tell you there are those 38%ers that are going to be out there fighting against the public safety millage. And we can try to educate. And maybe we did a very poor job on the 2.5 mil because we didn't put any money into it. We didn't have money to put into it. But we're hoping to find something to do some better education for this one. But if you go home and wash your hands of it from this point, I don't give a lot, a big choice. Would you listen to me for just a second? What I'm saying is, if we don't have the support out there, be very difficult to pass public safety millage. We're talking probably still approaching two mil, where we're seeking a 2.5 mil to keep it. So it's a challenge. And we need your help, because we know there's going to be opposition, and we can't voice yay or nay on that as elected officials. We can't. We can provide the opportunity, but that's the best we can do. We can try to educate, but we need the help of the people sitting in this audience and others to help sell the millage if we decide to go forward with it. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna move on into the rest of the agenda, presentations and special reports. Isabella County 2024 annual disclosure. Isabella County Administrative Controller Nicole Frost.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
So we do have a few extra copies of these out there. I'm glad everybody showed up tonight because this is a lot of information about our county that might be of interest to you. So we have to do this report every year because of the borrowings that we have. It's called an annual disclosure document. And it is about 6 pages of a whole lot of information about your county. Probably the most exciting thing, we're gonna start out on page 2. Page 1 is just a cover sheet. Our most recent SEV is over $3 billion now. And that's pretty exciting because it was only about 10 years ago that we broke $2 billion. A lot of that, of course, has to do with the wind turbine farm. And you can see in the year 22, when those turbines came on the tax roll at 100%, our SEV went up almost 11%, right? Unheard of, but I want you to understand what caused that increase. Very much out of the norm. Taxable value, you can see as well, climbing through the years now at almost 2.5 billion. So you see our percent change this year was 3.3. You say, how can that be? I got my assessment notice and it went up 5%. Right? Remember, those turbines come on the tax rolls as industrial personal property, so they depreciate. So while your other property was appreciating, your turbines were depreciating. But all in all, a positive change, which is exciting because we know that the turbines depreciate pretty quickly. The next section is population. So you can see a little upside down over the last 10 years, right? Our population is closer to the year 2000 than the year 2010. So not really a big news story. We knew about that a couple of years ago. I've never seen this breakout on the report before, but I think it's nice. It does taxable value by township and city. The big ones that should stand out to you, of course, are Charter Township, Union, and Mount Pleasant City. And the next page shows an analysis of our taxable value and SEV values. This is really interesting. It breaks it out by real property and personal property. It breaks it out by use, whether it's ag, commercial, industrial, residential, or personal. And it gives you a little bit of a history so you can see what's happening there. Remember a couple of years ago when the turbines came on the tax roll, our personal property percentage went way up and our real property came down a little bit, right? As those start to depreciate, you'll see that come back in line, depreciate out at 30%, just to give you an idea. Next session is our top 10 major taxpayers in the county. Traditionally, you see your utility companies as your top taxpayers, and that's certainly the case here. UTE and consumers, top 2, with the addition of the wind farm. You can see the taxable value that UTE holds in the county, over $300 million of taxable value. So by far our largest taxpayer. You can see the other top 10 taxpayers, a lot of them are housing, right? Are those apartment buildings. And so when the owners of those apartment buildings go to the tax tribunal and argue a lower value and they're granted that, and we have to pay back tax dollars, right? That cuts into that taxable value, right? Cuts into our revenues. Tax rates is the next section. Everybody wants to know when are the millages what are the rates and when are the expirations of their levy? So you see that in the next couple of sections. As we know, up next is ICTC, IRIDE, Parks and Rec, and then of course our county operating levy. Some revenues that we get from the state of Michigan. Close to 1.5 million in state revenue sharing each year. Gives a little history of that. And then the next section is tax levies and collections. So this is county portion, right, of the total tax levy across the county. Our 6.61 in 2023 brought in a total of just over 15.5 million. The next two columns are important. This is what your treasurer has collected in March 1 of the following year through settlements. That's at just over 15 million. So you think, oh, we didn't collect $500,000. That's correct. The percentage collected is 96.91%. And for the last 5 years, it's been 96 point something. So our percentage is up just a little bit, but last year it was 96.83%. So think about that. We talk about delinquent tax fund. We always ask the county treasurer, was there enough to cover the settlements with the local units, right? But as our taxable value grows and that the taxes that we bring in grow, maybe that percentage stays the same uncollected, but it's going to cost more to buy those delinquents, right? We're collecting more and the percentage stays the same. It's going to cost him more to buy those. So I just want to point that out. We haven't transferred in delinquent tax dollars out of that fund into general fund in a few years. I understand from the treasurer's office, they did have enough to cover the settlements with the local units, but that's because they didn't all happen on March 1st, right? So while you're waiting to settle, you're bringing in some interest. Our labor force is the next section. We talk about we have 6 unions. And this talks about when their contracts expire, how many people are in those unions, how many people are unrepresented. In total, 269 blessed souls for Isabella County. Next page is your pension information. Talks about what we spend on our defined benefit, that true pension, defined contribution. The new 401k is down at the bottom of the page. So in 2023, we sent just about 1.8 million to MERS to fund that defined benefit pension. See, right now we're about 22 million underfunded. You can see the percentages funded. And remember, our actuarial from MERS has the medical care facility plans wrapped into it. So when they say we're 72% funded in our actuarial, we know we're not really, because medical care facility kind of lifts us up, right? So you can see the actual funded percentage here is closer to 63. Fine contribution, 457 retirements in 2023 cost us just over $668,000. Other big retiree costs that a lot of counties face is called OPEB, other post-employment benefits, right? Retiree healthcare, we pretty much don't have any. A lot of you in the audience will know our command officer members who retire under the current contract get a whopping $1,000 a year towards healthcare. Really the only retiree healthcare obligation we have. The next page shows all of the bonds that the county has. Most of these are drain debt, paid through drain assessments. You'll see at the top the 5 jail bonds. Represents the 5 bonds we took out from USDA Rural Development to fund the sheriff's office and correctional facility. We borrowed $41.5 million over 40 years at 2.125%. See that show up on this sheet until those are paid off. You might think that we have a lot of debt. You'll notice on the last page, your legal debt margin is tied to your SEV. It's 10% of your SEV, which limits your borrowing to $324 million. The total subject to debt limit right now is 54 million, so we actually could take on an additional $270 million in debt. According to this report. Your bond maturity schedules are on here. When all of that debt is due, you'll see the general obligation bonds of the Sheriff's Office and Correctional Facility going out to the year 2062. Shows a little bit of information about our now $32 million budget, soon to be less, and showing that fund balance, which we talked about in our audit presentation recently, about $20 million in fund balance. We'll use 5 of that in the current year. And we talked at that meeting about what the rest is assigned for, right? That 20 million isn't available to us to solve these problems. It's assigned for other things. So, does anybody have any questions about the annual disclosure document? I love it. It's a whole lot of information, 6 little pages. Good stuff.
Questions for Ms. Frost? Don't see any questions. Thank you. Move on to appointments to boards and commissions. Item A, we will this evening consider appointing Jacqueline Curtis to the Region 7 Area Agency on Aging's Advisory Council for a 3-year term ending March 31st, 2027, or until her successor is appointed. We thank Jacqueline for doing that. It's a very important position. Item B, chairman's appointment of member to the City of Mount Pleasant Downtown Development Authority Board. Commissioner Swaney has agreed to step up and take on that additional responsibility. There was some conflicts with, like Commissioner Jalzinski was previously the
Conflicts of schedule.
conflicts with schedule. Yes, thank you. And then item C is chairman's appointment of alternate member to the City of Mount Pleasant Downtown Development Authority Board. And Commissioner Marino has agreed to accept that additional responsibility. We thank those commissioners for that. So we'll move along to committee reports, Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is consider ratifying and placing on file the March 15, 2024 invoice list in the amount of $1,415,385.35. March 22nd, 2024 invoice list in the amount of $484,857.01 in the adjustment list dated March 28th, 2024. So we have numerous opportunities to take a look at the bills that the county is being asked to pay. Starts with a review at the elected official department head meetings and it goes over to administration for review. Finally, the list of bills gets sent to all the 7 commissioners at our home email address or county email address where we have a chance to look at them and raise questions. Finally, they come to the committee for another review and then to this work session. And finally, once we get through that, it'll be sent to the regular meeting later this evening for final approval. So going to the March 15th list, we have a substantial list of bills. Most of them are on back pages that are less than $5,000. The ones that raise to a level of 5,000, they're brought out on the front page so that we can look at that and review. Most of these are very customary. We see them time and time again. We're paying county contracts for services. We're dispersing monies to the intermediate school. In fact, on this March 15th list, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 5 or 6 community colleges or intermediate schools that pass through monies. The county collects those taxes and then we pay them out to those taxing authorities. Every once in a while, besides the contracts that we're see time and time again, we may have some minor adjustments due to an error in the entry by the data clerk or somebody added sales tax, which we're not obligated to pay. So those will be adjusted out in adjustment list that we'll look at a little bit later. But I'm asking any of the commissioners on the bigger bills of 5,000 or more, or any of the smaller bills in the body of the report, if there's any questions. Hearing none, move on to the March 22nd list. So this isn't quite the same amount of money, but we do have, looks like half of it goes to Union Township for a tax settlement payment. And then other than that, we're paying financial services to a CPA firm. We're paying a third quarter payment to Michigan State University. Again, we customarily pay these on a regular schedule. I don't see any of them here that I have questions on. Any of the other commissioners have questions or comments on any of the bills listed in this report? Right, we'll move to the adjustment list. So the adjustment list modifies any of the bills in these two reports. And again, it's because if we pay the bill early, we can get a discount, or if we pay the bill early, we avoid paying a late fee. And again, there may be some minor errors that get adjusted. Typically, these are not huge dollars amount, but it does modify these two invoice lists. Any questions or comments about any of the adjustments made to those lists? Hearing none? Okay.
Committee, you brought up Karen Jackson was a vendor for the MRF. And what did we say? That was an error, so watch for it on your adjustment list. Do you see it? Do you see it, sir?
I do.
Excellent. Good process.
Hearing nothing else, we'll move this on to tonight's meeting for adoption consideration, approval consideration.
Item 2 for the Finance and Administration Committee, to consider approving the prime contract change order number 16 with Clark Construction in the net additional amount of $36,563 for the board. Now, periodically, we will receive the prime contract change orders. We've received 15 prior to this. And I believe we have a project manager, a senior project manager. It's Heidi Skindle. And if you wouldn't mind, I'll turn this over to you.
Good evening, everybody. As Chris Embry said, we do have a prime contract change order for the project for the Isabella County Jail. It is an additional add of $36,563, but this is still being taken out of our buyout line. That was the savings that we had when we bought out the project. So we have not touched our contingency yet at this point. And this is currently in our contract, and so it is not an additional add. To kind of quickly go over the items that are in this $36,563 is at the washer and dryer room. We had originally had a masonry lintel that was needed in there above the openings for the washer and dryers. We did not have a 10-foot span lintel, so we ended up switching that out and going with a metal stud drywall above that masonry wall. So we had a credit from Strauss and then an add from the Reichenbach company for the drywall. A total add to the project of $3,554. The next item on our list here, where the rooftop units were placed, we did not have a 10-foot clearance from the roof. And so we needed to put additional handrail there for those two rooftop units, 2 and 4. To add that rooftop handrail, that was an add of $20,932. And that also came from our buyout line. The next item on our list here is we had originally had a steel bench in the booking area. We changed that out to a concrete bench. To do so, we had an add of $866. Then the next item on our list here is detention pod colors. So to help identify in the detention area which space each inmate would need to go to, we worked with the sheriff and to identify certain colors. That included exterior door frames inside each pod. We would paint the handrails, the stair stringers, and then also the furniture, the accent of the bottom of the desks and chairs and the tables. So that was an ad of $11,211. And that is all we have. Any questions?
Question from the other board members?
I'm just wondering, Heidi, if you could explain to us the contingency and the buyout lines.
Sure. So the buyout, when we bought the project out, we had a certain dollar value that we were aiming to hit. And when we actually took bids in from the contractors, we actually came in under, I think it was, I don't have it right in front of me, but I think it was about 1.4 million that we had in savings. So because we had that savings, any changes to the project, we've been taking from that line in our budget. So right now, I think we're at, I don't have it in front of me, about 200 and some change left in that buyout line. And our contingency for the project was 700 and about 80,000. That contingency, we typically try to do anywhere between 7 to 10% on a project. This project was a little bit smaller. I think we went to about 5%. So it was a tight contingency. So we were thankful we had that buyout line there to help with any changes on the project. Because as the project goes, we drawings, sometimes when the details are missed, or sometimes things that when you're coordinating in the field come up and you have to make some changes. Or, sometimes just actually seeing things actually being built and stuff like that, we change some walls or whatever we need to do. And like this one case here, the sheriff wanted some additional colors to help identify it for inmates where to go. So those things then we've been able to take out of the buyout and have been reserved the contingency for down the road. And hopefully we don't have to spend that, and then we can give that back.
Thank you.
So I hope that answered your question.
You did. I knew what they were, but I knew you could articulate them a little better.
Okay.
I just, I want to say that the sheriff has worked really, really hard to keep costs down on this project. And that's where a lot of that buyout line came from, is the work that he did cutting costs here and there. And I know that you worked with him very closely on that. So
We did, yes. We worked on several items and he was very receptive to a majority of them. So it did not impact the integrity of the building or anything like that. We changed some finishes out and looked at different options with those kind of things versus, affecting structural or anything like that.
thanks, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, with that, the Finance and Administration Committee completes its job through the work session.
Thank you, gentlemen. Brings us down to Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 items for you today, and first up is consider approving the fiscal year 2025 Isabella Community Correction Plan application in the amount of $127,634.34 and authorize board chairperson to sign the same. We have with this, Administrator Carrie Pierce, I'm used to looking over here. This is a grant we usually get. It's no cost to us, so we'll be fully reimbursed. If we choose not to take, required to do some of the actions that are required. So I'll let Administrator Curtis go through the program.
That's Mr. Foster. He is our community corrections coordinator, so he can tell you what our corrections plan is for FY20.
All right, so we're running 5 programs again this year. Cognitive Thinking Matters program that's done in-house in the courthouse, and we've had pretty good success with that. The opioid meth specific program through TRICAT has been running along nicely since we've had that. We're asking for that again this year. The electronic monitoring for drug report specific interlocks. We're underutilized, but we're asking for it again this year, as well as the pretrial supervision and the pretrial assessments. It's really the same as last year. We're asking for more money again this year. Since I took over in late 2021, our award amount has went from 57,000 to 104,000 last year. So bringing in money. Any questions?
Just a comment, but not only are you bringing in money, you're turning that into very effective programs, and we very much appreciate that. Programs that help people, helps cut down our rate of recidivism, so we don't see folks back in our jail. So we appreciate that.
Questions? from the Commissioners? I'll move that forward to tonight's regular meeting and thank you. Okay, next up, we have considering approving the rapid SOS order form RS OS -8510461556 in the annual amount of $9,121.14 for 3 years and authorized the board chairperson to sign the same. And we have Director Griffiths with us, the 911 and emergency manager, to explain it.
And Commissioners, this is a tribal 2% grant that the emergency management program requested. As part of that grant, it puts the AEDs out in the community. This particular piece of the grant is some software that's going to help enhance the resiliency for 911. Also helps us know anti-alley locations. If we have any type of situation where people uses some type of internet device calling in, or their watches or the regular phones and stuff. It'll also help us put it all on a single map on one computer screen when the dispatcher's trying to get people help and identify the situation. So this is a 3-year contract. It's 100% paid for by the generosity of the 2% grant. It's part of us putting currently 70 AEDs in the community through the emergency management plus.
Questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could articulate for the folks, there's a lot of folks behind you, maybe in layman's terms, what these AEDs are and what they do.
Doing it unjust to the EMTs in the room, I'll just say these are the paddles that you slip on people and you put it in when somebody's having a heart attack. The layperson very easily can assess these little red boxes, and you pull the pads out, they stick on your chest and your side. The machine will tell you what to do, and if the person's rhythm or their heart is in such a rhythm that requires a shot, it will administer the shot. The AEDs that we're giving out are one of the newer generation one. I'm very excited to see this technology again help come in through some of the stuff to our 911 department. If a person pulls the pads out, supposed to notify 911. We're supposed to see where they are on a map. There is a potential option that if 911 notices, say, a heart attack out in the parking lot right now, and one of these units is on the wall, we could potentially alert that unit. And when a person picks it up, they could actually see, do you want to help? There's something in your area, hit the button, and then it would give them a map to actually go help that person. So we're excited to see if that really comes to fruition, but end of the day, it's better technology, more chances to cut down on sudden cardiac arrests that affect everyone. And so hopefully this will do some good. It's really a good initiative that we came up through the emergency management program.
I know the last time we talked, there were still a couple of units left.
Any businesses or other places, we've extended out even to government townships and stuff that could use one, please contact us right away. It's on our website. Just go to the Isabella County 911 emergency management pages, and it should have a link for the community. Love to put you on a waiting list because we might be able to try and find more money. That's kind of what we do.
Hey, sir, Mark. Question?
Again, Director Griffiths, I just appreciate the effort that you put into securing these AEDs. I know we have them at our church. We have them at our Masonic Lodge. And I think these are going to save lives. I mean, they're an absolutely amazing piece of machinery that ultimately is going to benefit the entire community. So thank you for that.
Questions? Seeing none, we'll move this forward to tonight's regular session. Thank you.
All right, our next item, consider approving the memorandum of understanding and data transfer and use agreement with the Board of Trustees of the Leland Stanford Junior University and authorize board chair to sign the same. Do we have Registrar Deeds Karen Jackson on Zoom? Oh, great. She can run us through these MOUs for this data use.
So this memorandum of understanding is just an agreement with Stanford University, agreeing to the terms. They're not going to use our documents or our information for anything other than this project. They will use a couple of examples and only enough documents to show that the project that they did with this AI tool was successful. They will submit the documents, the couple of documents that they want to use for their write-up to us. We have to agree to those documents before they release this project. Obviously, I'll bring that information to you guys before they do that. The documents will be like old land deeds. It's not current information. It's most of them are documents from the early 1800s. But obviously, we all know that before or after the 1960s, these types of documents were not allowed to be recorded. So it's going to be much older documents, and the documents that they're interested in trying to essentially develop this tool for are the old cursive documents that were handwritten. There are OCR tools that work for typewritten documents that happened later, but there are not any tools for the old handwritten documents. As a matter of fact, a lot of people can't read the old handwritten documents. So this tool that they're developing is going to be very important for all of our industry moving forward. Michigan does not, at this point in time, require anybody to go back and remove or redact that information. At some point, there may be a law that requires us to do so. If we reach that point, we will have this information. Stanford University will share the information, what they compiled, and we will not have to hire someone to go back and look for that information for us. We will have it for free. That's one of the caveats of agreeing to this project. So it's kind of a win-win situation. They're allowed to develop the tool. Doesn't cost us anything. The only cost was having the attorney go over the document, and we have to do that in order to keep our records secure. That portion of the project, obviously, I paid for out of tax, so there is nothing that comes from the general budget. So the data use agreement is basically along the same lines. It's describing what they're going to do with the data, agrees that they're not going to do anything with the data. They're not going to sell the data. They're not going to show the data to anyone. Their principal use in the data is only to develop this AI tool. So do you have any other questions?
Any more questions on this memorandum of understanding? Nope. Okay, we'll move that forward to the regular session. And then the last item again is consider approving the memorandum of understanding for the direct submission of e-recordings with GovOS and authorize board chairperson to sign the same.
So that's another memorandum of understanding, which we sent through. The only cost was the cost of going through legal. Those costs were absorbed through the automation fund again, so there is no expense through the general fund. This is an electronic recording tool that our software vendor has available. It's like an in-house tool. It allows the small submitters, like a lot of the people that have been coming to our counter, to be able to submit a document at a small charge, be able to electronically record that document without having to drive to our new location, waiting in line. If they have to get a tax certificate, they wait, we check the document, they wait for someone from the treasurer's office to come out. They check the document for the taxes, they certify the document, and then we record the document. Also, if someone comes, what they usually do is use someone that they call a runner, and that runner is not authorized to make corrections to the document. So if there's an error, a small little snafu in the document, they're not allowed to fix that document. So then they take the document back to the office. The document has to be fixed. Then they bring the document again back to where we're located now. This would resolve a lot of those issues. They would be able to scan the document in, send it as electronic document. We would be able to look at the document. If there's an error, we can immediately pop it back to them. They can make that correction and send it right back. So a matter of minutes. Also, it will resolve some of those issues. If the treasurer's office is busy, instead of them coming out singularly for each one of the documents that needs tax certification, they can let a few of those stack up in the queue. Then they can certify those documents and pop those back in our queue. This is going to save them a lot of time. It will save us a lot of time. There's a little bit of money to be made on our end, not a lot of money, but it's mostly a time saver. It also is going to help resolve a lot of those issues that we're having right now. And I see it as a very positive thing as we move forward. We don't know where exactly we'll be located. Are we going to be right next to the treasurer? This tool will also allow us to send the documents electronically to the treasurer's office and then have those pop back. Are there any questions about this?
I see no further questions. Just to reiterate, software is going to alleviate workflow issues and save time for department employees and also for those in the community. Thank you, Registered Deeds Karen Jackson.
Thank you.
Chairperson Hope, that ends the work of criminal justice and county affairs.
Thank you, commissioners. And that brings us to Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first item is consider approving the contract with Johnson Hill Land Ethics Studio to serve as a prime professional for Herrick Recreational Area Development Project, ARPA -0174, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have Alexis Hampton here, the Parks and Rec Director, to explain this. Hi.
Hi. So just continuing to move forward with our Spark Grant project. As a reminder, we're doing renovations to the campground at Herrick Recreation Area, including the bathhouse, the pit toilet out there near the cabins, and then the playground. So with this funding opportunity from the Michigan DNR, there is a requirement to hire a prime professional, which has to be a landscape architect, and engineering firm. And so that prime professional will serve as our liaison with the subcontractors. They'll do our engineered drawings. They will help us pull permits, all of those sort of project management things. We went out, we had an RFP out for 2 months, and we had 2 qualified proposals come back. Johnson Hill Land Ethics Studio had the lowest bid, and also had completed 2 prior projects very successfully for Isabella County. The playground that's at Coldwater Lake Family Park. And then the expansion of the campsites at Coldwater Lake Family Park have been done within the last 10 years with this firm. So they have great references and have had a positive working relationship with Isabella County in the past. And then they had the lowest qualified proposal that we received. So County Legal Counsel has helped to draft an agreement with Johnson Hill Land Ethics Studio as the prime professional. Pretty straightforward agreement. It addresses all the things that you would want to see addressed, compensation, scope of service, the project timeline, insurance, all of those things. And so it's actually, like I said, it's been reviewed and approved by County Legal Counsel, and the prime professional firm has already signed it and agreed to it. So pending approval from this board, we can move forward with hiring them and entering into a contract with them. The total for this contract is not to exceed $27,950. So that is a set fee that we won't go above. And it's worth mentioning that this contract will be paid for with the Spark grant funding, which is a 100% reimbursement grant. There's no match required from the county.
That sounds good.
Questions?
Total that, right?
319,000, yes, total. So this will take a little chunk out of that for the services, and then we'll have quite a bit of our budget left to actually make those improvements.
Any more questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, this item will be on our agenda at the
Thank you.
evening. Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah, second and last item, consider approving the purchase of a new train IPAC rooftop unit for the courthouse and the approximate cost of $191,141. Director Shoemaker here.
Good evening. I'm sure as you're all aware that in the late summer of 22, we had a couple compressors fail on the northern rooftop unit in the courthouse. We had an RFP issued and all four of the compressors were replaced during the end of October, but because of the time and the temperature, we couldn't start the unit up. So in May of 23, the company that we hired came out, started the compressors back up, got the unit running, and it ran for 1 week. We had compressor failures. Since then, they had come out several times and replaced a total of 10 compressors on this unit, only to have them fail within days. I have contacted the company repeatedly, trying to get a resolution to this issue with no luck. I reached out to our attorney to see if there was any legal avenue that we could take. And before we did that we got with our insurance company to see if we could file a claim. I got with MMRMA. I spoke with them. They suggested that they will send out a forensic HVAC engineer to investigate it. But no cost to the county. They will cover that. I've been in contact with him in the last week. He's waiting for warmer temperatures. Hopefully next week, when the temperatures get above 60, he can get the unit to run. He can come out and try to deduce what is wrong with this unit and what needs to be taken care of. I reached out to train the manufacturer to try to see if there was any kind of an avenue. That's where you've got the pricing that was from, I believe, December. So that's why I asked for an estimated cost. I don't know what else to do. There is a exigency to have that rooftop fixed. I can tell you last summer, and so can most of the court employees or anybody who worked or went to court on the north side of the courthouse, that 80 to 85 degree temperatures on that side of the building will not suffice again this year. So I'm suggesting that we take and purchase a new rooftop unit, as the legal or the insurance battle that we're going to go through. That road could take some time. So in the meantime, I suggest we buy a rooftop unit, and then we go back for our damages later if there is some.
Director Shoemaker, thank you so much for doing all of the due diligence in this regard. The motion before the board tonight is pretty specific, right? It's a train, it's a certain unit, it's an approximate cost. Do you think that it behooves us in the meeting tonight to add or equivalent in that motion Just based, I
Yes.
know we've just come from another meeting where we've talked about there's other possibilities. So I'd hate to see the board lock you into something that you have to wait for another board motion maybe to pursue.
Yeah, Mr. Shoemaker, have you checked in on the availability of stuff? Is there a lag or?
Quite a long lead time on this type of equipment, which is why I want to move this along as quickly as we can. Because I have no idea of the lead time until I get with manufacturers and start seeing who I'll put out bids to everybody and see, but at this point, it's hard to say.
Any other questions? We do appreciate all the.
We're gonna have an amendment on this or something.
Probably at the regular meeting. I would recommend that.
Make your change then. Okay.
I will move it. Towards the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Director Schumacher. We have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business. Under new business is consider accepting and placing on file the 2023 annual drug report from the county medical examiner. Do we have the medical examiner here? No. Can you speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. Normally, this is something that I think is just emailed out to commissioners when it comes annually. I don't know that you've ever seen this at a board meeting, but I thought, to draw more attention to it, we would place it on your agenda. You have it in your packet. This is not an annual report about all of the deaths in the county, right? This is just drug-related deaths, and it's pretty telling report when you get looking at the data. I don't think there's a drug-related death that doesn't involve some form of fentanyl. I mean, if you look at these numbers, and it's probably not telling this audience. But all the board needs to do really is accept and place on file. It's the only action we're looking for. This is a drug report of all the counties that Sparrow serves as medical examiner for. So it's not just Isabella County information. There's other county information in there.
Right. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move that to tonight's agenda, and that'll bring us down to general public comments. Anyone for general public comment?
Good evening, commissioners. Been a week since I talked to you. Took your advice. As you see, the room was filled. There's people have their concerns about Sheriff's Department Road Patrol. Just a couple points, rehashing some of the things that have already been said, but I'd like to do it at the end of the meeting so it's fresh in your mind if you haven't forgot already. But Mrs. Steiner made it perfectly clear. When COVID hit, who was the essential employee? Who was the mandated employee? It was your law enforcement, your medical staff. Any community and anybody that runs a community, federal, state, county, the one thing they should be mandated to do is keep your community safe, keep your citizens safe. That's your number one priority as a board. Number one priority. Everything after that is second, and I'd say a low second. So you say it's mandated or not mandated. The citizens mandate that just by the having a safe community. Schools are up there. You don't have good schools, you don't have good public safety, you don't have people moving to your community. There goes your tax base already. Those are going to go down. What about your insurance rates? Your fire department all of a sudden moves out of your area, they close a fire department. Your insurance company finds out your insurance rates go up on your house because they don't have somebody there to respond. That's no different with law enforcement. But the one thing that I never heard on the 32 years I worked for the Sheriff's Department and sat in many board meetings, talked with many commissioners as the president of the union at the time, that The sheriff's department's mandated. It's mandated. It's kind of a known antiquated law that the sheriff's department will investigate things, but they never supply how to make them move forward. What I want to suggest to you, your job is to let the people decide what kind of community they want to live in. And that being, if the sheriff's department is going to lose a road patrol, as according to this budget, it will. Your job is to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's whether it's revamping other things in priority on the county's level. Some things, you know, may have to wait. But ultimately, to save you guys a headache with that is to put this on an August ballot. Now, you refuse to put this on there or don't approve to put this on the August ballot, then I would say that you haven't done your job. You haven't taken the time to look at the citizens and understand what they're here for. They want public safety. Now, you said that last time I was here, you thought you did a good job getting out the millage, and I argued to the point that that millage increase was not put out very well to the community. In about 5 days' time, after talking to this board, you've seen what can happen. People are interested and get the word out. My guess is more people came to this meeting that knew about this and they knew about your original millage. So just take that into consideration that your ultimate goal is public safety, period. Yeah, county's got all these other entities they got to do, but if you don't have public safety, sooner or later, nobody's going to want to live in this community to support those also. So please take into consideration, make sure that that gets on the August ballot. And to you, Mr. Jelezinski, please don't talk down to your constituents. We're all adults here. We all know what the primary way to get these things passed is by community support. We're all adults, but I would say go ahead and get a professional organization to come in here. If you put it on the August ballot, we need that help in getting this out to people that can respond to negative criticism and on a timely manner. So thank you for your time. Please put it on the August ballot.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Sawyer, and I've been a resident of Isabella County for over 29 years. I have chose to raise my 3 children in Isabella County. Over 18 years ago, my daughter, if it wasn't for the sheriff's department, could have passed away due to a medical emergency. There's a lot of familiar faces here in this room, as my husband's in law enforcement, and we've become family with a lot of these people in this room. They have come to our home when emergency has arose on several occasions for my daughter since she was born. You are putting the jeopardy of our families, your families, and the community by not doing your job and allowing these folks to stay in their positions. I have seen firsthand since COVID, the increase in the amount of calls that have come in our county. It is insane. And you, when you took your position, took an oath to do your job. Myself, along with the others in this room, are asking you to do your job. You're wanting to take jobs away from families and food away from families that have done nothing but protect and serve this community for years. It is a thankless job. It is not a job that people are wanting to do anymore. It's one of the highest careers that people are leaving. So I ask you tonight to put this on an August ballot to make sure our communities are safe and that we don't lose our children or our parents because we don't have somebody to respond. Do your job. And Jerry, your comment was very untasteful. You should rethink before you speak.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Walker. I'm a Lincoln Township resident and also a deputy with the Isabella County Sheriff's Office. I don't need to go over again how important law enforcement is going to be in this county and what will happen if we don't no longer exist and are there not to take any of the calls. The state police have to attempt to take over what we handled years prior. My biggest concern to talk about is how we knew of this financial crisis years in advance. What I understand, there's a survey put out of the potential upcoming financial shortcomings. Yet there's one vote, there was one millage that was put up at a 2.5% with a 3-month notice to the citizens. And then I feel, and I know many other deputies feel, it was put on our backs to try to get that millage out. I told people how important this millage was and what the effects of not coming, and I was told I was a liar. I was told there's no way you guys would ever get rid of the sheriff's office. Not possible. They still think you're lying. I talked to my neighbors. I talked to people on calls. I talked to people going to Meyer, and they all think I'm a liar and don't believe this is going to happen. And they didn't believe it was going to happen during that 2.5 mils, and they thought that was a threat to them to get them to pass that millage, and that you were threatening them that if they didn't give you the money, you were going to get rid of us. People don't believe what's happening. They still don't believe what's happening. I think we need to be more transparent in what's happening with the jail. People need to understand they think that this jail wasn't needed. I know there's security issues and other issues that come with showing people why we need a jail. In our basement, we have leaks. We have pipes that burst. We have water coming through our ceiling. I've worked overtime in the jail. Doors don't always unlock with a key. You got to shake them to get the door unlocked into a cell, into an inmate. There's reasons why I know, and you know, why that new jail was needed. The public does not. They think it was 40, 50, whatever the price was unnecessary. Same thing with the remodel of the county building. First, we heard it was 2 million, then it was 4 million, then it was 7 million. Now I don't know what's true. I haven't seen numbers. Now there's rumors going around town that's 11 million. People don't know what's happening and they just see unnecessary spending, whether or not it's true or not. But the problem is we give this, I can tell you right now, my neighbors down the road aren't watching this. They have no idea what's happening here right now. No one went on this Facebook page, just read something that I have no idea when they see 38% increase all around town. But we have no rebuttal. We didn't fight back against that. Nah, that's not true. Nobody knows what's happening in the county. I think transparency, we're supposed to be on the same front here. We need you and you need us, because again, these people are the ones that vote all you in, and without us, I'm afraid not only the support and not only the safety, but we need you as well, as we were supposed to be on a front together here. And again, we have this news article comes out that we're all getting laid off. Yet the very next interview is with the county commissioner saying, no, we don't know who's getting laid off or how many, when we just got told we are all, including the detectives and sergeants, by October 1st. So we're not on the same front. We have two different stories, so no one believes either one of us. So again, I think transparency is where we need to go, and I think we need the public to decide on the August ballot if they do or do not want public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? General public comment.
Hello, Commissioners. I appreciate you letting me talk. So there was overspending. There was a lot of things that happened. So how are we going to fix that? We're going to throw a millage out there, right? We don't tell anybody about it. We don't do anything. And then the people voted down. And then now you guys come back with, well, we'll fix that. Takes you a month to say, hey, we're going to cancel public safety. That gets the people riled up. I mean, these guys don't want to be unsafe. They don't want to have cops out there. They don't want to have drunk drivers. You guys knew that. You guys came at them to scare them, to get them right here in this room, and it worked. But how can they trust that we hand that money over and that you guys are going to continue to spend it properly, since you guys have never done it before? That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioners. I'm Dan Muggenberg. I work for the Sheriff's Office as deputy. Originally came here, families all throughout this area. If you're Jerry, I'm sure you're familiar with Muggenberg's down in your district. Started here because I wanted to protect my family. Sorry, not good with public speaking. From wanting to protect my family, I grew to love this community. I did not know what was going on with millage. All I knew was that my job was on the line, my ability to protect my family, your families on the line. Millage didn't pass, and your true colors started to show. The press release that was put out blaming the public who had next to no information, saying that they're going to find out what it's like to have limited government, find out what it's like to operate without public safety, and then to come to last week's meeting, listening to you pat each other on the back, saying how good of a job you were doing, cutting everything, cutting the budget, cutting the road, and then to show up tonight, seeing the public support, seeing everyone, those who had to leave because they had other responsibilities going on tonight, to get up in their fear of public speaking, such as myself, and tell you what you should do, what is morally right, only to be spoken to by Jerry, who, thank you, Jerry, because you, in addition to Nicole, in addition to all of your other meetings, have finally shown your true colors about this community. You do not care. You don't care if we live or die. You sit here and make your decisions and then go back home, assuming that the state police is going to come save your behind, which we have all told you time and time again, it's not going to happen. They're spread too thin as it is from this post to every other post in the state of Michigan. To sit here and you don't give a rip about what we have to say is not just disrespectful, is not just tactless. You have failed unity. You have failed my family. You have failed your own.
Anyone else for general public comment?
I just got one quick question. I'm 65-year resident here at Isabella County. How many of you guys know how many state patrol officers patrol this area right now tonight? Anybody? Anybody out here? Two sometimes, because my son-in-law is one of them. You can't cut this. I worked for the Department of Corrections for over 20 years. State came in, did the same thing. And what are they doing today? They can't find anybody. They're over 1,500 correctional officers short right now. Because they can't find anybody. They can't keep anybody. They're advertising on TV for them. So you're risking my life and everyone else's lives out here. Don't do it. Thank you.
My name's Michelle McCreary. My husband and I are homeowners in Co Township. And I'm here tonight with my 5-year-old daughter. And I debated whether or not I was going to come up and speak. I firmly believe that it's more important to speak because when good people are silent, bad things are allowed to continue to happen. And so I came up here to plead with you and ask you please to pass, I'm sorry, not pass, but introduce this, to put this millage on the ballot. Allow the people to decide, but make sure they understand. Almost everybody I spoke to did not understand. I did the math. My taxes were only gonna go up maybe $300 a year. It's not the 37 or 38% that we were told. And I'm here tonight with my 5-year-old daughter, and I'm up here speaking to you, asking you to do this because I want her to know that regardless of what the outcome is, her mommy was not silent. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else? General public? You got?
Does anybody know where
Sir?
we rank as far as in the United States, as far as property taxes go? As far as what we pay compared to other states? We're number 14. There's 36 states that are better than us. As far as property tax. Either we gotta do something different, or you're gonna run everybody right out of here. Number 14. That's sad. Go to Tennessee, property taxes are cheap. You know why? Because every county has a county tax. I don't mind paying my taxes, my county taxes. Why don't this state do that? They're surviving down there. They're doing really good. And everybody's leaving Michigan. Why? Because our taxes are too high. I'm retired now, making Social Security, you know, a pension from the state, a little bit of pension from the state, doing pretty good. But every time you raise taxes, I take a pay cut. These guys don't deserve to be cut off in the roads. If we have to make some cuts, let's do it within instead of taking our safety away. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Doug Rutho. I live in Isabella County, Union Township. Been here since 1995. I work in this county. And when my wife and I heard on the news that there was going to be possibly 19 officers lose their jobs, it bothered us because I don't know any of these folks, but I've been there. I lived in Gratiot County and the factory I worked at closed, and I've seen it happen. And if these folks lose their jobs, you're picking on their livelihoods. And I wish that when you come up, when August comes up and you draw this up again, that it's in such a way that we could understand what we're reading and know what we're talking about amongst each others. And just, I'm just hoping that you change your mind. And that's all I have to say is I've been there.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Maureen Buggenberg, and I am a new resident to Isabella County. Grew up in Isabella County and recently moved here just a year ago. The fact that as a new resident, I now have to worry about my public safety is appalling. New residents will not move into your county without public safety. New businesses will not move into your county or open businesses without public safety. That's going to affect financial implications for businesses, taxes, residential taxes. I did get an email back. Thank you for responding to my email, Jerry. You asked and indicated in an email that without public support, you doubt a new millage would pass. You doubt it, and you were sincere in that. You were sincere in your being upset. I understood that. You asked for public support. You didn't ask for public support for the February election. There was no public information available. A new resident, I went to the county website. I had difficulty gleaning the information I needed, and I'm a pretty intelligent person. You didn't do your job to educate the public about the financial implications of the February ballot. You didn't do your job. Last week, there was a discussion that you didn't get a public, a PR firm because it wasn't a good return on investment. And you patted yourself on the back and saying, see, we knew that. You didn't get it. First time you asked for an increase in operational millage in 45 years. Where everybody deserves a raise after 45 years. You didn't think it was important enough to educate the public of why you needed that increased operational millage. Shame on you. Educate the public. Put this on the ballot. Don't wait until you get the public survey back or anything. I understood that the election ballot language is due by May 14th. That's in 6 weeks. Act now. Do something now. Get the election ballot language set up, confirmed, get this on the ballot in August. You will have support because we will take it in our hands because we can't trust the board to instigate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, board. My name's David Pickler. Live at Coldwater Lake. And then I don't know if you just heard, but sirens went by. So those are going to help people. That's what these guys do, right? So this public safety millage, I think, is a big deal. It needs to get put on the ballot and people need to know what they're voting on this time. It needs to be very definitive and it needs to spell out what people are going to have and what people are going to lose if it doesn't go through. The biggest thing I can say is when people call 911, they expect help, right? That's why they're calling. So we need to do our part and you need to do your part and put it on the ballot so we can get something passed. So when people call 911 in Isabella County, they have hope that's there and it's coming now, not coming out of Clare County, not trying to come out of the city of Mount Pleasant, because when you call 911, you usually need help now. Please do your part, put it on the ballot.
Hey, Jay Gross. I've been out here for, so what? I'm sorry. And I'm a speech teacher. That's going against me right there, but 30 plus years, Isabella County. A lot of my friends, I call really close friends, former students sitting back there. Maybe one or two of those officers has pulled me over once or twice. I don't know. But I do know this. I absolutely love our sheriff's department. Poor Mike Main's on my call list whenever I got a question for him when it comes down. And I just want to offer, people give me crap because I've got so many tens of thousands of people that follow me on social media. If you need to get out stuff, I'm willing to put out there facts, because the people that I promote for, if a dog's lost or a cockroach is in the building, they want to save it. I mean, they come across, let's use it for some good. And if you get me the information, I'll make sure it gets to the public. If I've got to stand on the corner of Mission and Pickard with a sign and hold it up, stop cars. Because to me, to put it on the August ballot would be absolutely phenomenal. As a taxpayer, my wife and I are both going to vote to keep this in there, and I'll do anything I can to help you. So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You people rock.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to address the concern that the people here that took time out of their day to show support for our sheriff's office will come to this meeting and then stay silent. That's not going to happen. I just wanted to ask the group, how many of you would truly, really put in the work and the time and the effort to get this on the ballot? And then after that, work the public, work your contacts, work your friends and your family to get this passed. Thank you.
My name is Susan Sunderman. I'm a resident of Isabella County for over 30 years. I'm retired from the Shepherd Schools, where I worked hand in hand with many of these men sitting back there. I am active in a national Moms of Police Officers group, a state Moms of Police Officers group, Michigan Back the Badge, and Police Week Michigan. They have all pushed this issue at my request. It is out on social media. If you choose, and I implore you to do so, if you put this on the ballot in August, I have the guarantee of Back the Badge Michigan, Police Week Michigan, and my mother's group that they will push this issue along with everybody sitting in back of me. You have the support. Do your job. Thank you.
Anyone else?
We got the wrong time on this. I might be going against the flow, I think.
Could you state your name
Oh,
for
I'm
us,
sorry,
sir?
James Hill.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, thank you.
What other parts of the budget have you tried to cut? You have 15 departments other than the sheriff's department. What other cuts have you made? Or are you proposing to make? None? No answer? I'm sorry, can anybody answer me that? Does anybody know? All I hear is at the sheriff's department. That seems like you're trying to hold that over on us. Well, I mean, what, you have, how many commissions do you have here? You have 15 departments. Are you gonna make any cuts on administration, animal control? Got to bring my glasses. Central dispatch, commission of aging. I could go on. You have 15 departments. And all you're doing is you're gonna cut the sheriff's department. Now, I'm all for keeping the sheriff. I just think it's kind of underhanded that you would propose to cut the sheriff's department without looking at the rest of the budget. And I'm sorry you don't answer, and I don't know. I'm not used to going to meetings, and I'm sorry about that, but we have been assessed over the last 30 years, over $100,000 in taxes from the Drain Commission twice. Still on the hook for that. Okay. There are reasons that people are not going to just want to do this. I think you need to bring it around and look at the whole budget, lower the tax assessment that you go for. Okay. And then it might pass. Okay. And I know I'm against the flow because who wants to go in and not represent the sheriff's department? I've worked with those guys. I worked at the hospital for 8 years in EMS here. Okay. It's hard to go against the flow here. But I think you guys are being one-sided here. I think you're trying to hold the sheriff's department up against the community so that you can get more taxes. And it's getting hard to maintain a farm here. Okay, and it's not just the drain commission, it's the taxes, it's drain commission. Oh, and I'm also in Union Township, so there's water and sewer. Okay, but you know, you got to spare me with this over taxation. You've got to cut you've got to. When I'm out of money, I tighten the belt. And I think you need to do that across the board and not threaten us with the sheriff's department. There are other departments here. I think you could cut across the belt and you could ask for a lower tax assessment to make up for that county building. And that's all I got to say. I know that's against the flow, folks, and I'm sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you. Anyone else? Any public comments? Anyone else? Anyone online? Anyone online? There is not.
Pat Schaefer from Isabel County. Reason we're here today, you guys failed to do your job. We put this back on in August, give you the money, we're right back down the same road. I feel a lot of times these board members are on here for the wrong reason. Because they failed themselves in life. They're here for their insurance, they're here for the money. That is wrong. You guys need to do your job. Public health is the safety is the last thing you put on the board to take away. I'm asking you, put them back on. You find cut somewhere else. You go in there, tell them we're freezing your insurance. Go on Obamacare. Cut your pensions. I've been self-employed my whole life. I'm making it on my own. I tighten my own belt. You guys do yours.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else for general public comment. Yes, at the 7 o'clock, which we're a few minutes late starting that. We're going to take a short break between meetings. We'll have public comment again at the second meeting. Yep. All right, seeing no more public comment, commissioners, any announcements? Commissioner Engler.
Just like to make a comment as far as Isabella County Conservation District. Yeah.
Meeting's not over
hazardous-
yet.
There will be a hazardous waste and electronic waste for the county. The dates are June 8th and September 7th at the Isabella County Fairground. This is a
Folks. The meeting's not over yet.
anyways, also fire recycling pickup at the Isabella County Fairgrounds, May 18th and September 28th. Also, the district is also having a tree sale and you can still order trees until the 14th of May at the Isabella County Conservation District Facebook page or the website. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I just want to say, I appreciate everyone coming and all the comments. I just want to say that I, as chair of this board, I have failed this community. We're sitting here talking about trying to save road patrol. We've made cuts to emergency management. We shouldn't be in this spot. And I take responsibility for that. Thank you. I I've been on this enough. There's been some things, there's budgets, where we borrowed from reserves, where we borrowed from delinquent tax revolving fund. There was a time when the price of the jail, we had to kind of stop. We started planning this jail in 2016, kind of got put on hold during COVID. And after COVID, everybody started coming back to work and we got with Clark Construction and Integrated Architecture. Well, all the prices went through the roof. I should have at that point said, hey, let's hold off. We should take this to a millage. There's been several times when I should have said, stop, we need to think about this. Otherwise, for us to be here in this position where we're talking about these kind of cuts is a failure on my part. And we've taken some tough criticism for it. We deserve it. And I appreciate it. The 2.5 mil was a huge ask and not clearly defined. I'm a homeowner here in the county and I live on unlimited means. Another 2.5 mils for me was a burden. And then we failed to define why we needed that. Basically, we needed it to keep doing what we were doing, which is a terrible thing to have to sell. We should never have been in that position. We should have done a much better job. No argument with anybody that says we did a poor job at that. The communication afterwards was horrible. And for that, I apologize. We got to move forward from here. I heard from over 20 of you, and I know a lot of the others support what people came up and said at public comment, that we've got to put a millage on the ballot and save public safety. We can talk about how we got in this position financially. And I'm willing to do that at any time, but here we are. I will say that we have gone over the budget, and Commissioner Embry introduced us to the concept of zero-based budgeting, where you start at zero, you start adding in until you run out of revenue. And guess what? We ran out of revenue pretty quickly. We did cut roughly 2.6 million from everything else, everything that's not the sheriff's department. So we did look at everything, and we have made cuts, substantial cuts. I feel to everything that we could. But here we are still talking about getting rid of road patrol, and cuts to emergency management, cuts to the prosecuting attorney. He's been understaffed. Mr. Barber's been understaffed since he took over. So we have to do better. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the folks that said, I'll help. We're going to need that. We're going to need all you folks. We're going to need the community. We're going to need the city. We're going to need the townships. We're going to need the tribe. We're going to need all of you. We can't spend money to say vote yes or vote no. We can spend money on education. We do hopefully have a plan for a firm that'll help us, especially with communication part of it. So just wanted to put that out there. I take responsibility for the place we are at today. It's not a good place. Hopefully, I think someone said today is a start. We can move from where we are to somewhere better, start putting back some of that public safety stuff. So that's all I have. Thank you. With that, we'll adjourn. We will take a short break and then we'll start second meeting. Thank you. We'll adjourn at 7:14.